Hello and welcome to Here's the Pitch, sponsored by Masses Restaurants in St. Louis. 5 locations, stlmasses.com is their website. Go there, check them out if you're coming through St. Louis and you're looking for some good Italian food. The menus are right there on the website, the directions. There's 5 locations, all spread out throughout St. Louis. So when you come through town, go get some Italian fare from my title sponsor, Masses. And this is your friend Brad, and welcome to Here's the Pitch. And today, very excited because unfortunately on the phone, couldn't get the video hookup to work today, but we do have on the phone Tom Green. I'm excited. Hello, Tom.
Hello, how are you? Great to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. And yes, we both have something in common. I know that you started in cable access. I started in cable access. That's how I got my break, my big break.
So you did a public access show in your parents' house?
The set was actually inside my parents' house. You'd open the door, and then you'd walk right in, and my dad had made this mural on the back of the wall. We hung from the wall, and there was a table, and you'd just sit. That's where me and my buddies would sit, and we'd do the show. Christmas, people would walk through the set to get into the house, and they'd be bringing in gifts, and I'm like, hey, we're doing a show here. Where was your set?
I didn't actually have the set at my parents' house. It was at the station, the public access station. But then I would barge into their house with a video camera and make their house part of the show. So, yeah, very similar. Absolutely.
Now, your poor parents, I'll ask about them in a little bit. But so when did you, you're from Canada, so what made you think, because I had my story, and everyone could hear it whenever, so I have you on the line. Mine was just, hey, I want to be on TV. I'm 16 years old. I want to do a sports show. What was the impetus for you?
Well, I was a huge fan of David Letterman, and I also was a goofy kid at school, always goofing around, and I started doing stand-up comedy, and I really loved, getting those laughs on stage. I was doing stand-up comedy when I was a teenager, and I just wanted to pursue that, so I just kind of I went to school for broadcasting, started the show, and, it was a lot of fun.
Did your broadcast school, did they know what you were going to do? Like, did they know that you're going to have this wacky show, or did they could probably see that you're going to be a straight news guy broadcasting fires and death?
Yeah, well, it was in my first year of college. I actually started the Tom Green show on the public access station. So after school, I'd go over to the station and we'd do this show, and so they kind of saw what I was doing. And, obviously it was, the show was pretty ridiculous. We were doing a lot of really outrageous things, and I don't think people at first really could see that it was going to end up picked up by MTV and changing my life and moving me and I've been living in Los Angeles now for 17 years, working in this amazing and crazy business called show, and I'm having fun.
So I'm fascinated by your rise. You're doing public access, and then boom, you're on MTV. I've tried to read about this and figure out how this happened. How did you actually go right from public access in Canada to having an MTV show?
Well, I was, first of all, we created something that was completely different than anything that was on TV at the time, and it really did stand out. So the show kind of started to gain a following on its own. We had a bit of a cult following of viewers watching MTV, and we got their attention. I think it was an interesting time, where TV was changing. It was reality TV was just starting. There was no internet yet, so it wasn't like it is today, where you can go on YouTube and see millions of outrageous, crazy homemade videos. So, this was something new and different, and I think there's a certain amount of luck involved too. So we got lucky, and somebody watched the tapes and decided to put us on the air.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I just went back to YouTube and started watching some of them, and I can't stop singing the theme song today. So I'll put that in here, and you'll hear, "This is the Tom Green Show."
Yes.
How long did it take to write that?
About 30 seconds. I always liked making music, so I had a recording studio in my house, and I made that theme song, and it remained the theme song for many, many years of the show. Yeah, I kind of stopped doing stand up for a while when I was creating the show, and just sort of focused on that for many years, and that's kind of what happened, But I'm glad that I've begun doing it again. It's been an incredible thing. I've been basically traveling around the world for the last 10 years, and performing all over the country, all over the world. Been to pretty much every city in the U.S. now doing stand up, and it's been awesome.
Well, I'm sorry you're stuck in St. Louis for the weekend.
No, it's great to be here. I love being in St. Louis, and I'm looking forward to the shows.
So, and I don't remember a lot of skits from the show, and I did watch this thing, but I totally remember. When I saw that you were coming, the first thing I thought of was Undercutters Pizza. I thought it was
Undercutters Pizza, yeah.
Undercutters.
Yeah.
And you almost got beaten up by a hammer. So I guess that was what I was going to ask: is how many times did you really fear for your life? And you can talk about Undercutters. Like I said, that's my favorite. Basically, the skit is, and people can go to YouTube and see it. You would follow a pizza delivery guy and say, "Listen, no, I have a cheaper pizza, and I have all the toppings here." And you get to a house, and they wanted you to leave. They had their pizza.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, that was one of the first videos we shot in the United States of America. Before that, I was shooting in Canada, and I don't think I realized that people are a little bit more polite in Canada. As a Canadian, I didn't know that, because I thought that they were getting pretty mad at me already in Canada, but they weren't pulling out hammers and trying to kill me. So as soon as that happened, I kind of realized, wow, this is pretty crazy, and fortunately we got it all on tape. But I was never really afraid of actually getting hurt, because I'm a really fast runner. I got good at running very fast at an early age, because I was often trying to escape people who wanted to beat me up. Yeah. So it's been helpful.
Yeah, people should check out that skit. And I guess the camera guy was more in trouble than you. You just kept saying, "Come on, turn around, turn around, let's go."
Yeah, our camera guy was a new camera guy from MTV, and he just didn't know that, you were supposed to run. He just thought, "Oh, I'll just keep filming this." I don't think he realized that he was actually the primary target of the hammer. So, but fortunately, we got some good footage there, and the guy who got mad at us ended up having a laugh about it later. And let us use the footage and everything. So, but it's definitely been interesting. I just relaunched TomGreen.com, my website. So it's now relaunched for mobile phones, so you can go watch on your cell phone and see so many of the old sketches on the site.
Yeah, and you guys were before YouTube. I don't think people realize how YouTube wasn't around. I think it's crazy. YouTube was not around during 9/11. Facebook wasn't around. Like your time was kind of a different time, and I know I'm a little younger than you, but it was such a different time. But I did read, and I don't know, maybe you're proud of this, maybe you're not. If this was my show, I'd be proud of this. TV Guide ranked it, according to Wikipedia, 40 worst all-time TV show, and I would take that as a badge of honor myself. How do you?
Well, that seems like, odd to me, because, at the end of the day, Newsweek called it revolutionary, and Rolling Stone put me on the cover of Rolling Stone. So you're always going to get some cynical, sarcastic reporter writing anything whenever you do anything. So you can't really let those kinds of things that get written up, bring you down. Because it's just somebody who's really got nothing better to do at work, trying to be controversial or whatever. But the show has got a worldwide massive following. I'm on a sold out international tour, so I really don't think that that's accurate.
Yeah, but I would take it as a badge. That's a badge of honor in my book, and it should be. If it's going to be number 40, I'd rather it be number 1. Like I said, I think it's a great show. Glenn and Phil.
It's honestly you're referencing an article that just nobody read. It's not even relevant.
I agree.
That's the way I look at it.
I would agree. How are Glenn and Phil? Again, on YouTube. I totally kind of forgot about the torment you did to Glenn, but Glenn would work at the phone company, and he had a real job, and you followed him as he went to his phone company job. Just how are your buddies Glenn and Phil?
They're great, and Phil is excellent. I just spent the last few weeks hanging out in Ottawa, in our hometown, with Phil, and we're still very, very good friends, and we have a lot of fond memories from doing that show together because it was fun. It was working with your friends. We were just making it up as we went along, and here we are 30 years later, and we're still buddies.
So, and then, they call Howard Stern the king of all media, but then you star in Road Trip. You have a hit single on MTV. So I guess Road Trip happens because you're Road Trip the movie. I believe it's your first movie, right? And you're working for MTV, and it's an MTV film. I'm guessing that's the connection. But what's it like just going from public access to being on this a movie that box office to 120 million, in the box office?
It was very exciting. I'd never been in a movie really before Road Trip. Did a small part in the movie Superstar with Molly Shannon, but really Road Trip was the first time I was really in a movie and that I had some lines and something to do, and it was amazing, and it was an incredible experience. I wasn't really planning to get into acting in films at that time, but I've enjoyed it very much, and I continue to do some filmmaking. I actually shot an independent film this year here in Missouri, in Cape Girardeau, actually, and that's going to be coming out next year. And I have another movie called Iron Sky coming out, so there's lots of fun stuff in the works. Why
are you in Cape Girardeau? I gotta ask.
Well, the writer and the producers of the movie are from Missouri here, so I was up here filming up here. Yeah, so.
Welcome to Missouri. So when you see Jackass come along, are you flattered, or do you say, "Hey, that was sort of my thing"? Because you left your show during a tough time. You had testicular cancer, which you did an amazing show about how you went through that. But when you look at the Jackass guys, you go, "Hey, good job. The mantle is yours," or were you kind of a little frustrated that, "Hey, that was sort of my deal"?
I was making movies at the time, so I wasn't too worried about it. I know the guys from Jackass, so it's there's definitely a bit of I did take note that they were doing very similar things to me. I would be lying if I said it didn't. If it wasn't something it's not like it was something that I didn't notice. But I've tried to remain positive, and I was inspired by a lot of people when I was growing up. And so Steve-O, who's a friend of mine, and I've gotten to know over the years, has told me that they were inspired by my show. So I think that's cool.
I got a chance to talk to Tom Green here, who's in St. Louis. He's performing at the Helium nightclub, 8 p.m. tonight, Friday and Saturday, 2 shows, 7:30 and 10 o'clock. You talked about David Letterman just a second ago, and so I just was looking at some of your clips, and I think it was your first appearance on Letterman. Tell me everything about that day. What was that like to show up at the Ed Sullivan Theater and then sit across from him, and he was laughing, and just what that meant to you that day?
It's nerve-wracking when you're meeting your idol, and especially when you're meeting him on television, and especially when it's David Letterman. So I was definitely a ball of nerves for sure. The show had just gotten picked up by MTV recently, so I wasn't exactly used to being on big network American TV shows. But it was amazing. It was an amazing experience.
Were you I'd be nervous as hell. What was it like? Were you butterflies all day?
Yeah, sure. I think nerves are good, though. When you do any kind of performance, it's good to get nervous before. If you don't get nervous before, you're probably not thinking about it enough, because the possibility of something going horribly wrong is always there. So you should be nervous about that. And if you're not nervous about that, you might not be prepared, and you might go in and actually, fall on your face. So I think nerves are good. I feel nerves, and it's not that you're unprepared, or that nerves are just healthy excitement. It's adrenaline. So that adrenaline is energy. So as soon as you learn how to channel that energy into the performance as opposed to let it consume you, that's when you can really become great as a performer, because you're taking all of those nerves and you're putting them back into the performance, and it actually makes the performance great. So you want to be nervous before you go on stage or before you go on a TV show for the first time. It's a good thing.
Yeah, and Dave doesn't seem to get real close to a lot of people, but I was just curious if you got to get to know him on a kind of a different basis. You did host the show, which is he doesn't let a lot of people host that show, but he was out with I can see if there's either the heart surgery or something else. But did you get to know him, and what was it like just being able to sit behind that desk?
Yeah, it was amazing hosting the show. I never really got to know him off camera, but he was, I'm told, a big fan of mine, and certainly was very supportive. He, by no means had to ask me to host his show. He could have asked anybody in the world, and they would have said yes. And so the fact that he did reach out and ask me to host a show one night, on one of the very few nights he ever did let someone host it, is a true honor, and something that I'll always remember for sure.
Yeah, and I just called you the king of all media a few seconds ago because of the TV, the movie, and then you have a hit song. I mean, what do you think when you put together a couple rap albums? But I've read where you talk about Eminem basically quoting you being surreal, and "my bum is on your hips, my bum is on your lips" is still said by kids today. I mean, it's said because Eminem said it, but it's only said because you said it first. I mean, that has to be something, right?
Yeah, no, it's hilarious. And I'm recording more music now, and I'm going to be incorporating some music into my live shows, and it was a strange experience when Eminem rapped about me, because that song is played every day all over the world, and to this day, and so it's very cool. It's good to be part of history like that.
Couple more minutes with Tom Green. Really appreciate his time. I've noticed that you and Norm Macdonald have quite a relationship. Is that due to coming up as stand-ups, or is it just kind of the same sense of humor? You guys have both been on each other's podcast. I think you've been on his a few more. I love Norm. I'm a huge fan. Just tell me a little bit about that relationship with him.
I got to know Norm when he came and did my internet shows that I was doing at home out of my house in Los Angeles after the MTV years. And I did my own independent podcast, and I invited Norm because I'm a huge fan of his, and I grew up watching him do stand-up in Canada before he was famous, and was a huge fan of him then. And he would just come do my show all the time. I think he was very intrigued by the idea that you could just make your own talk show. He always, I think aspired to host a talk show himself, and is a huge David Letterman fan. And now he does do an amazing talk show and podcast on the internet, which he just interviewed David Letterman. So it's all gone full circle.
That is crazy. And I just think it's crazy to me that, some guys just don't hang on. You hear about a show that they've been doing in 1999 and 2000 for MTV, and they're gone. But man, you've really hung on, and you're still doing your thing. How have you done that? I mean, I know it's got to be a lot of perseverance. It's talent, obviously, is part of it. But what do you consider? You were on The Apprentice in whatever 2009, 2010. So people were still wanting to see you do things. What do you think that is, and how do you keep on keeping on?
Well, I think it's just that is you have to make the conscious decision to not quit, because you will go through ups and downs in any business, certainly in show business, where you'll have disappointments and failures, and some jerk at TV Guide will say that you've made the worst TV show ever made, and you hear that and it rattles around in your head, and you think, man, maybe I should stop doing this. And if you let those voices, those negative, discouraging voices affect you, then you quit. But if you refuse to, let other people take away your dreams, and you instead power through and keep on, then you just keep getting better at what you do, and eventually you find your way. And now here I am, I've been in this business now for 30 years. I just turned 46 years old on Sunday, and I am, touring the world, all the time and performing to sold-out shows all around the country. And that wouldn't be happening if I hadn't decided to keep doing it. If I decided to listen to that jerk from the TV guy that you brought up a minute ago.
I did not mean to bring that up in a negative way, Tom.
What was his name, anyways? What the heck's he doing these days, huh?
I really did think maybe, knowing how you are, maybe you'd enjoy. That's like a badge of honor. It's not the
worst writer ever in history. Huh?
Do you get to talk to President Trump at all, being a star?
I know the president. I do know the president, and we don't stay in touch. But he did fire me on The Apprentice because I went out drinking with Dennis Rodman.
I mean, that's a story right there. Go ahead and get fired, right? I mean, you have to.
It's pretty wild knowing the president. I hope he does a good job and doesn't ruin the entire world.
That's a lovely thought for all of mankind. I'd like to add. Now, you're a very good interviewer. I consider myself a very hackney interview. How was this interview? You've done 1 million of them today throughout. Were you okay with this? Did we have fun? Was there enough?
Great. You did a great job. Great interview. Absolutely.
You had fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I had fun, and I appreciate you having me on the show. I mean, I do a lot of interviews because I'm performing and promoting my shows everywhere I go. So I appreciate you taking the time to let people know. And I am on social media as well, so I do a lot of that. I'm on Instagram at Tom Green on Instagram and Tom Green Live on Twitter. And you can also like me on Facebook. So I'd like to ask all your listeners to do so and stay in touch with me as I travel around. And come see my shows this weekend starting tonight at Helium here in St. Louis.
I love your Canadian accent.
Thank you very much. Yes, I just spent a month in Canada, so it's possible the accent is in full effect.
And by the way, I don't think TV Guide's in circulation anymore either, so you got that. You're in circulation and they are not.
Yeah, there you go. What, TV Guide's out of business now? Good. I'm glad.
Tom, I really do appreciate your time, and like I said, I've watched and enjoyed your stuff, and I think you're a very funny guy, and I hope to get out and see you this weekend. I'm going to try to get over there and just laugh. Last question, just what are you doing in your stand-up these days? So, like, what can people expect when Tom Green? Are you doing just straight jokes? You telling stories? How do you do?
Yeah, I mean, this show is not something that is revolving around my past. I'm not on stage telling stories from the Tom Green show or the films. There's a little bit of that, but it's a very I'm talking about all sorts of subjects and making fun of the world and making fun of life and myself and interacting with the crowd. There's a lot of crowd work and spontaneous energy that I bring into the performance. So if you like stand-up comedy, and even if you don't even know anything about me or if you haven't seen any of my shows, you're going to have a great time if you're a fan of stand-up, and come on out. We're going to have some fun.
That's all I had, Tom. Hey, I really appreciate it. I thought we were having fun with the TV Guide thing. I hope you had.
Oh, don't even worry about it. I'm just telling you how I feel. That's all.
I totally I get it. But like I said, I thought you might find it funny, but maybe not funny. So said.
Yeah, no. I was just giving you my honest reaction to that.
Yeah.
Like people that write for these magazines. I mean. They've got thousands of articles come out every day, and so you're going to have a lot of people that write stuff based on their own feelings or how they are. My show was obviously a very shocking and controversial show. I mean, so it's not for everybody. So obviously that middle of the road bore of a writer who wrote that article didn't enjoy the Tom Green show, and I get it. It wasn't supposed to be making everybody happy.
Those who can't write for TV Guide, I say.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Tom, TV Guide obviously was wrong. You're still going. I appreciate your time, and have a good rest of your year and another successful 2022.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you next time.
All right,
Cheers.
All right, so that was Tom Green on the phone. We'll try to get him on video next time we hook up, but that was awesome to talk to Tom Green, comedian and a big-time star from MTV. You can follow Tom Green on Twitter, and there's so many other ways to find Tom Green. So I appreciate him coming on. Here's the pitch. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.